Wall Street corrects for the third straight day. The Dow slips below the 20-day moving average, while the Nasdaq is the top losing index, down over 1%. The 10-year treasury yield rises to its highest level since October, as minutes of the Fed July meeting suggest more rate hikes could be in store. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific lower following weak cues from Wall Street. Inflation in Japan comes in at 3.1% versus estimates of 3.3% rise in prices, while Chinese developer Evergrande files for bankruptcy protection. The gift nifty is implying a lower start for the Indian market. Oil prices rise after three straight sessions of a decline as the dollar pulls back and the Chinese central bank says it will maintain a precise and forceful economic policy to boost economic growth. Prices, however, give up some gains this morning. Gold, meanwhile, hits a 5-month low on the back of rising yields and expectations of further rate hikes by the U.S. Fed. In the latest index rejig, ACC, Nikkei, HDFC, AMC will be out of Nifty Next 50 effective the 29th of September. Replacements include Punjab National Bank, Shriram Finance, Trent, TVS Motor and Zydus Life Sciences. With less than 20 days to go for world leaders to arrive in Delhi, G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant says Ukraine issue is on the back burner and the focus will be on developmental issues and technological transformation. Calls for a global alliance to develop a governance framework for digital public infrastructure. That's an exclusive. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. It's a Friday morning, but we do have a lot of global cues to track and our own cues as well. But first up, as always, let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing. Well, it's a weak handover that they have received from the Wall Street, so it's a mixed picture right now. We have Hang Seng sitting with cuts of around 56 points, while the Taiwanese index, that is the one which is trading in the green with gains of around 49 points. Shanghai too is in the green, but we do have the likes of Nikkei, Kospi, Straits Times, all of them trading anywhere with cuts of around 0.3% to 0.5%. We did get a lot of macro cues as well. Japan's core inflation that fell to 3.1% versus an estimate of 3.3%. The Chinese real estate company Evergrande that has filed for bankruptcy protection in a U.S. bankruptcy court, and that is something which has come in as a shocker. If we look at the gift nifty, that one is indicating that the start for our own markets could be in the red. It's implying an 80-point cut at the start for our own markets, so it could be another day of weakness for Indian markets as well. But as I was mentioning, China's Evergrande has filed for protection from creditors in a U.S. bankruptcy court on Thursday amid concerns over China's property sector and the economy at large. CNBC's Emily Tan gets us the latest on this issue.
Evergrande, this is China's most indebted developer, liabilities in excess of $330 billion US dollars. The latest here that they have filed for protection in a bankruptcy court in Manhattan, New York. This is Chapter 15 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code, shielding non-U.S. companies undergoing restructuring from creditors. As we know, the troubles at Evergrande started to unfold in the middle 2021. Since then, they of course we've seen them default. That was a little bit of a snowball effect, triggering similar outcomes for a number of other mainland property developers. A number of them listed in the Hong Kong market remain suspended from trade, as is Evergrande. The NEV and the services unit are still back up online in terms of trade, but Evergrande remains suspended. Now, as I mentioned, they had earlier reported a combined loss of something like $81 billion for the year 2021 and 2022 as the company tries to get through its debt restructuring plan approvals from creditors. So that's in the process of going through the courts here in Hong Kong, over in the Cayman Islands as well, and of course with the creditors. And we watch as what's happening with Country Garden. This is China's largest private property developer, something with 4 times the number of projects of that of Evergrande. They have now missed 2 coupon payments as of August the 7th, so their grace period is running, and we're going to be watching, of course, closely what happens there, and the a little bit of an overhang, or the sentiment being felt in the mainland property sector.
Okay, that's all about Chinese real estate market. There's a lot of pressure that we are seeing there. But let's talk about the US markets because Wall Street also ended lower for the third straight day, with the Dow Jones sliding nearly 300 points, the S&P 500 down 33, and the Nasdaq Composite closing with losses of over 1%. The 10-year Treasury yield hit its highest point since October 2022 after the Fed expressed concerns over the pace of inflation and potential further tightening in the United States in the July meeting minutes. In fact, on that note, let's get in some expert opinion as investors navigate opportunities in the equity and bond market. Let's listen in to what Savita Subramanian of BofA Securities had to say.
Our view is that stocks still look a lot better than bonds. And I think that that's where we're the most out of consensus, because I think, folks around us see, 4+% yields and think, okay, this is a great trade. The risks around stocks versus 4% in the bag. I think the opportunity cost is high of locking in low rates for the next, 10 years. I think that we're in an environment where the demand for treasuries has evaporated and all the buyers have flipped to sellers, namely the Fed, China, Japan. Global demand for treasuries has shifted from hot to cold. And when you look at stocks, I think what's interesting about stocks is that they're doing all the right things.
Okay, all right. That's the global market action. But how will these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have a research team joining in to tell you just that. The trade setup, the stocks in focus, and the action from the F&O space as well. Hey guys, a very good morning to all of you and happy Friday as well. Vivek, let me come across to you first up. Looks like it'll not be a Friday for the bulls, but for the bears.
Well, absolutely right. For the third straight running, what we are actually seeing is we are seeing a very weak set of handover as far as overnight cues are concerned. Like we mentioned, the Dow Jones, slipping significantly, almost 300 points lower. And also, what we're actually seeing is, as far as the yields are concerned, that too is quite concerning. Yesterday, after 3 straight sessions of losses, crude oil prices gained 1%. And yesterday, WTI Brent futures actually went higher by 0.5%. The $83.86 a barrel marker. Now, coming to the Indian markets, yesterday there was significant selling pressure. However, there was a brief recovery in the mid part. However, the Nifty ended below the crucial 19,400 level, ending with losses. It was a largely range-bound session. Along with that, the broader end of the markets were the ones that actually stood out. Advanced decline ratio there quite strong. The breadth was quite positive. Mid-cap index actually managing to end in the positive. Along with that, yesterday we did see pharma stocks in the pharma sector actually seeing a bit of profit booking from the higher levels. Today, as you mentioned in the morning, the Evergrande crisis is keeping Asian markets under check, and the LGX Nifty 2 is indicating a gap down start for our own markets.
Okay, all right. A gap down open for Indian markets is expected, but a lot of stocks will be on our radar as well. Abhishek has that list.
Well, to begin with, Vivek's story has been confirmed. Bata has responded to CNBC TV18 news break of tie-up with Adidas. So they say that the company continues to explore opportunities for strategic alliance collaboration as well as tie-up for the Indian market. So there's no denial to Vivek's story. Jain Irrigation, the board has approved fundraising of about 76 crore via promoter allotment, and promoters shall subscribe to the share warrants as well, worth about 123.4 crore. So NSE, there is inclusion of PNB, TVS Motor, Shriram Finance, Trend, Zydus Life Sciences in Nifty from September 29, while the exclude list includes ACC, FSN, E-Commerce, SDFC, AMC, Indus Towers and Page Industries. LTI Mindtree, Affleck selects the company as its digital transformation partner. Adani Enterprise, its arm Mundra Solar Energy gets a COD certificate, that is commercial operation date certificate. NLC India, they have entered into long-term power usage agreement with Rajasthan Urja Vikas Nigam Limited for supply of 300 megawatt of solar power. South Indian Bank, they have received RBI approval for appointment of P.R. Seshadri as MD and CEO of the bank effective 1st of October 2023. Sula Vineyards, they say that the extended weekend of 12 to 14 August saw the highest ever revenue, visitor numbers and tastings. So the revenue over the 3-day period touched more than 2 crores, which is 40% higher than the previous 3-day record of 1.47 crores. Punjab and Sindh Bank CRISIL ratings have revised the rating outlook from negative to stable. However, the rating remains the same at AA. Back to you.
Okay, all right. Those are all the stocks on our radar. Let's talk about the F&O space as well now. Manglam is joining in with those cues. Hey, Manglam.
Well, if you've been watching the market for the last 3 trading sessions, it's been more of the same. Overnight, we get weak global cues, then some news that after the gift nifty indicates that there's a cut of around 70 to 80 points, and thereafter there is a dramatic recovery in the second half as well. So if you just take a look at the range, for the nifty, we've been between that 19,300 to 19,500 mark, so to say. Just about August 14th is where we touched 19,250 itself. So by and large, we have been in the range irrespective of the global news and cues. The only thing we have to watch out for is what do the institutions do. The FIIs buy in a couple of trading sessions and then start selling again. And yesterday it was both the FIIs and the EIs selling in the cash markets, net outflows of close to 1,800 odd crores. The FIIs, the previous trading session, bought about 220 crores in index futures. Yesterday they sold 216 crores, so the net longs remain unchanged at 39% for the last 3 days itself. Remember, it was weekly options expiry yesterday, so the 19,300 to 19,500 range continued to play out. For the week that begins next Monday, we have options that expire next Thursday, 19,400 call and 19,500 call, both of them extremely active. What does that mean? The option writers expect congestion between 19,500 to 19,550, no different from the range that we've been talking about as well. Importantly, technical indicators also suggest the same range of 19,300 to 19,600, largely because of the 50-day moving average and the 20-day moving average. What's interesting is that the 50-day moving average is moving higher and the 20-day moving average is coming lower. So at some point when they converge, will we see a big move on the index. In terms of stocks to watch out for, just keep an eye out on Punjab National Bank. Saw a lot of long positions being added yesterday, has entered F&O band now. Out of F&O band are Balrampur Chini and Manappuram. And keep an eye out on Bata as well. Yesterday, a lot of positions were unwound, so some short covering seen after a 5% move on that stock.
Okay, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. With that, we'll slip into a break. Up next, India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant calls for a global alliance to develop a governance framework for digital public infrastructure. Excerpts from an exclusive conversation with him will follow after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV 18. The Unique Identification Authority of India will soon have a new team in place. Neelkant Mishra of Axis Bank is likely to be appointed as part-time chairman of the board. Ritu Singh joins in to tell us who else could find a place on the board. Ritu.
Well, thanks for that. 3 key appointments have been made to the board of UIDAI, or the Unique Identification Authority of India. We've been given to understand from our sources that Neelkant Mishra is likely to be named as the part-time chairman of UIDAI, and Nilesh Shah of Kotak Mahindra AMC is likely to be named a part-time member, along with Professor Mausam from IIT Delhi, who will also be named a part-time member on the board. And with these 3 appointments, all the vacant positions on the board will now be filled after Amit Agarwal was recently named the CEO of UIDAI just last month. Now, Neelkant Mishra, as we know him in his latest avatar, is the chief economist, head of research at Axis Bank, where he joined very recently, prior to which he was at Credit Suisse for a period of almost 20 years. He's an engineer by education, an economist by vocation, and a very interesting choice to head UIDAI. Nilesh Shah, of course, we know him as the Kotak Mahindra AMC Managing Director. He's also a member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, so an interesting role there. And Professor Mausam is also the founding head of the Artificial Intelligence School at IIT Delhi. So an interesting choice of members that will now make up the new board of this authority. Important announcements we're hoping that the UIDAI will make very soon.
Okay, all right, Ritu, thank you so much for joining us with all those details. Moving on now, the Advertising Standards Council of India has revised the guidelines for influencer advertising, placing more responsibility on finance and health influencers. As per the guidelines, financial influencers can offer investment advice only if they are registered with market regulator SEBI. Meanwhile, health influencers need to be certified medical professionals from recognized institutions. The influencers will need to disclose their qualifications as well. Okay, all right, moving on to a CNBC TV 18 exclusive now. In less than 20 days, world leaders will be arriving in Delhi for the G20 summit. India's G20 Sherpa, Amitabh Kant, has called for a global alliance to develop a governance framework for digital public infrastructure. Speaking to CNBC TV 18, he also said that the Ukraine issue is on the back burner and the focus will be on developmental issues and technological transformation.
I really seen that what we've seen during the G20 presidency is a scaling up of our ambition and our ability to take our learnings to many other countries. And we will continue to scale that up, as I said, that 133 countries require fast payments in the world. We will continue to scale that up very vigorously. And I think what we would require is an alliance where resources can be put in, which many other countries, including IMF and World Bank, are keen to do. Some of that solution we'll find during our presidency, but we'll continue to pursue this as an aggressive agenda throughout G20 in future as well, so that the digital public infrastructure becomes a reality for the world of tomorrow.
Okay, all right, that's the CNBC TV 18 exclusive. We'll keep getting you excerpts of that conversation through the course of the day. For now, we'll slip into another break. Up next, we'll get you all the cues from the commodities market. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. It's time to talk about commodities now. Manisha Gupta is joining us as always with the update. Hey Manisha, good morning.
Morning, Sonal. Thank you for that. Well, I'll start with the crude oil prices, where we are headed for a first weekly decline after 7 weeks of constant gains. The crude prices are down 4% in this week. The weak China economic data, expectation of further rise in U.S. rates, all of that seems to be putting pressure on prices. The only reason that you have seen some opportunity buying coming in today is after China's constant reiteration that they will keep liquidity ample and the policy would be precise and forceful, but the markets yet to have to see that on ground. In the meanwhile, copper prices also have seen some buying come back. That also is because the dollar index is off its highs that we've seen in this week. The prices have climbed back above $8,200 a ton. We did see 8,120 in the month of June as well. So some buying coming back in case of metals as well. Not so much for perhaps iron ore or zinc, but copper, aluminum, steel seem to be trading in the positive.
Okay, all right. That's what's happening in the commodity markets. Crude prices, something that we'll be tracking closely. With that, we'll take your leave in this edition of Power Breakfast. Stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.